cybersecurity, sport, apparel and digital music service. Bright Khumalo from Vestact joins us with his analysis on CrowdStrike, on holding and Spotify. Bright, thanks so much for joining us today. So kicking off the first stock picks of the year, looking at US listed stocks. Before we get into the individual companies' performances, let's just get your assessment on how US markets fared. We ended 2024 on a high with stocks really dominating, US stocks really dominating the global equity market scene. But with, Trump's trade policies coming through, do you expect to see the same kind of gains we've been seeing play out in 2025?
Look, it's lovely to be on your show, Ndao. I don't know where US markets are going to go, but if, history is anything to go by, the America First, Trump's policies are going to be good for small and mid caps, especially those that are, more into, blue collar type labor and stuff, because the reason why I say that is because there's, a lot of infrastructure spending that's going to be happening in the US that is, part of his policies. And if you look at his first term, a similar thing happened. But that doesn't mean that, the larger and bigger caps in the US are not going to go up, because they are mostly, global businesses, and obviously based on their earnings, they can also still do very well. So it depends on what you want to play and how long your time horizon is. And for this segment of the show, I actually chose these companies, the three companies you mentioned at the top of the show, something to make me forget about this whole Trump policies and trade wars, etc. So I just need a bit of music, get out there and run and just forget about what's going on while having my OPSEC on top. So yeah, cybersecurity is going to be there while I'm zoning out of what's going on in Trump's world.
And let's get into that, right? Cybersecurity up first, really becoming a big theme as our whole world's move online and digital. You've chosen CrowdStrike, right? So there was some drama last year after that IT outage, but it seems to have recovered. I think last week it hit a record high.
Yeah, so CrowdStrike has been my pick in the sector since around 2018, 2019, since we started looking at the sector at Vestact. So yeah, CrowdStrike, it's a lovely company. They got the best engineers working there. They've got good salespeople. They sponsor one of the F1 teams. Unfortunately, Lewis Hamilton is no longer He's moved, yes, of course. But it's still going to be a big brand name in terms of brand loyalty. But in terms of what they actually do is endpoint security is very important, and the top product, which is the Falcon, named obviously after one of the fastest birds on Earth. That's how you want your cybersecurity to be. It needs to be, it needs to tell you the problem before it happens. It needs to be ahead of time. It needs to be quick. It needs to be fast. It needs to be secure. So whether it's in the cloud, whether it's in your local area network, etc. So this is a business that does it all in terms of that. And we think because they're a good brand name, and I think personally, I might be biased because we've been holding the shares, they handled last year's August situation quite nicely. And if I'm wrong, the share price and the market says otherwise, because the share price has doubled since the lows of $200, $217 during that scandal. And it was a great buying opportunity. I did come to one of your shows here at Business Day TV, and I said, yeah, I'm buying. I'm not running for the hills. So we've been, rewarded for taking that risk and believing in a company that might have been seen as, to be, going to zero, when it wasn't actually.
So at the moment, is it still a buying opportunity?
Of course, I'm still buying here. I mean, this
Even
company,
more?
Yeah, of course. This company has only been listed less than 5 years. I don't know, it's up about 540 odd %.
Exactly.
It's, to be a 10 bagger, you need to start at a 5 bagger. So there's still lots of opportunity. And in terms of growth, these are the few businesses that you look at that are growing still double digits, even though most big businesses don't see that type of growth. The return on investment is very high because of that growth. You might say, you know, they're overpriced. I think they're priced right. The market is always good in the US at pricing these things.
Okay.
So if the market is saying it's worth $400, that's what it's worth. You have to get it at that.
Oh, I'm thinking of $400 in rand terms, and it's sickening. I could vomit right now. Let's move over to the sports apparel industry. A very competitive industry, if we're being honest. Your pick there is On Holding. To be honest, I'm not too familiar with it. What makes it better than an Adidas? I want to say Nike, but Nike has its own issues. Why
Nike is on an up and up now. They're back.
Okay.
Yeah. No, so I'm sure you've been at a running club, you know.
Yeah.
There's you know, fragments of of runners or of these healthy individuals that like certain brands, and obviously some of them are super loyal to their brands. And On is also, you know, they've come to a big market. They've carved out a niche through innovation, and they've made an excellent performance brand, not just running shoes or tennis shoes, but you know, holistically, including actual apparel, where Nike also plays. So they've done extremely well at, unfortunately, the peril of Nike when they did you know, that blunder of going direct to consumer, when they didn't have they were removing everything on wholesalers, and they wanted to do things on their own while they didn't have the actual stores that you go to, which was, I think, a little bit abrupt. And they got rid of, you know, Nike stock on all the gondola ends, which I could argue that individuals that wanted to buy, you know, a pair of running shoes or a pair of Jordans went into these wholesalers to look for Nike stuff, then buy something else. But then again, they went to look for Nike. Guess what they found on the gondola ends? They found On Running, and it since has become a very big global brand with the likes of Zendaya, you know, as the face of the brand, as a brand ambassador, and you know, one of the you know, big backers is obviously the tennis goat. It's I don't know, it's a great business, and I still think it's cheap for the growth you're getting.
Do you own a pair of On sneakers?
Of course, I've got the Cloud the Cloud Monster.
I'm not surprised.
What do you mean? I don't even run that much these days, but it's an amazing sneaker. It looks good in terms of aesthetics. The innovation that I was talking to you about earlier is that when the founders said, we want to start an apparel company or a performance shoe company, they took a hose pipe and put them at the bottom of the shoe to make them, you know, the sole, to make the shoe actually much more comfortable to run in, you know, to prevent you from getting a lot of injuries. Then that has, you know, since grown into its own monster, to use their own words. So it's incredible. And when you look at those running clubs, you will find those individuals that are loyalist to On Running. They have 3, 4, 5, 6 pairs. They even have running apparel or, you know, a gym apparel from On. It's not cheap. And you know, the selling point is it's Swiss engineering.
Fair. All right, let's move over to your last pick, which is in the music streaming space, Spotify. I was looking at the projections for the group's fourth quarter performance. It seems like earnings are expected to soar, revenue growth pegged at 10%. So more room to run for Spotify, you say?
Look, I mean, we're still looking at the period of the Trump era, so that's another 4 years. So, I mean, I think they will do fine because everyone loves music, and I really, really like, the subscription as a service for the first business that we spoke about, which is CrowdStrike, and now obviously Spotify. Spotify, I want to say it's similar to what Netflix has achieved in that. Streaming as a service, but they're doing it as a music as a service. I was reading an article about Netflix to say basically they became the winner that took everything. I mean, if you recall during COVID, every, media company was bringing forward their streaming platform, putting a lot of money and investment into that. Even Disney, didn't come close to Netflix. It's just because they were earlier in the investment space, they got they got us, and obviously there's the network effect. I'm watching Squid Game. I'm not gonna find Squid Game on
Anywhere
anything
else,
else.
yeah.
Exactly, and I wanna be, you know, current with my friends, talking about the same thing. A similar effect is true when it comes to Spotify. It's a great business, and it's music, and I always try to think who their competition is.
Yeah.
And I can't find a name. I mean, Apple, when you buy an iPhone, obviously it comes with Apple Music, etc., etc. But most people go out of their way to unsubscribe and subscribe to Spotify again, bringing, you know, the first, what we are speaking about, branding.
I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah?
I hate Spotify. I literally am on iPhone and I use Apple Music. So I really don't get the hype.
There are a few individuals like that who haven't experienced the full suite of Spotify and how it basically learns. It's like, you know, it listens to your dreams, you know, just based on your taste of music, the type of music they recommend to you. I can't get that with Apple. Apple today is still recommending the exact same music I was listening to in 2016. Surely there's been new music between then and now.
True.
And this is where AI, you know, the Spotify algorithm, that's what it was called before it's called AI. It just knows, it's just a better, you know, algorithm at recommending what you like based on your previous taste. And there's nothing that comes to Spotify when it comes to that branding and that algorithm.
You know what? I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to give it a chance. I'm not making any promises.
6 months.
6 months.
6 months max. And then tell me if it doesn't read your dreams.
Okay. Cool. Bright, we have to leave it there. Thanks so much for coming through and sharing your insights on CrowdStrike, Spotify, as well as on running. That was Vestact's Bright Khumalo.